Okay, so today I am going to test out the Resiners epoxy bubble remover. I did put some silicone in the bottom. I don't think it'll block your view too much because I'm going to move you when I go to use the machine. And I do have it sitting on a silicone pad because it says on a slick surface it could dance around a little bit. I have 3 molds over here. I have my little ring dish, I have a square tray, and I have a trinket dish. I did measure them all up. The square tray is about 160 milliliters. The ring dish is about 80. And this is about 180 total. So, I'm going to have to do them in separate sections. Like I'm going to have to mix one, pour one, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to use the metallic marabou pink ink for this one. I don't know what the metallic will do. We'll see. I'm going to use the aqua green marabou for the tray. And I'm going to use pesto from Tim Holtz for the trinket jar, just because. So I'm going to get some resin mixed up, and then I'm going to get it in the machine. I'm going to mix my color in before I remove the resin or the bubbles. And I'm going to stir with a plastic stick so I don't introduce a ton more bubbles with using a wooden stir. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move you guys so you'll be able to see inside the machine when I get to that point after I've mixed the first batch. Okay, so my epoxy is about mixed. Looks good. So I'm going to put my colorant in. And this is 180 mLs, so it's quite a bit, but I kind of want that vintage green glass color, you know, like if you looked in Grandma's cupboard at her candy dishes or her glassware, you likely saw some of this in, you know, a crystal glass. It's kind of what I'm going for on this one. So on this, I'm going to make sure this plug on the back is closed. I'm going to set my cup in here. It is very hot today, so I'm actually a little nervous about flash curing. But the top, it has this AL or A1 or AI button, the on-off switch, and then the play and pause. This button will give you 5 minutes or 9 minutes when you touch it. I'm going to run this first batch for the entire 9 minutes. There we go. I'm going to pick you up. Oh, and it's already started. So, there we go. So you can see it's counting down, and this is going to show me what the pressure is. And it should build fairly rapidly. And it should get up to like 92 or something. I'm actually going to bring you down closer. Okay, so I've got you right down at table level. It is up to 95, whatever the pressure setting or whatever that is. And we're not quite 2 minutes in, so we should start to see the bubbles rising to the top, hopefully. So So I'm going to go ahead and time lapse you through the rest of the 9 minutes from this point on. Okay, so the bottom is pretty clear, and then I have a ton of foam, so I'm going to slowly open that relief valve, and we'll see what happens. So the first batch is still bubbling away. It's almost done with its second run, and I feel like it's still not quite there. Like, it's clear almost to where it's filled to, but, and this is the batch for the clear tray, or the square tray. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix this into 2 cups and see if I can seat 2 cups side by side in the machine. Maybe that will help if it's not so much all in 1 cup. I'm gonna scoot this over. So, pressure relief. Okay. And it says it can take up to 30 seconds for the pressure to completely let go. So, I don't want to force the top off. So, I don't know about this. I mean, look at all that on the top. And my epoxy is getting pretty warm, so I don't want to keep going in here. But I'm going to put these 2 side by side, and we're going to run this again with these 2 in it. So power on, push this button, 1 or 2, and then it'll start for whatever you picked, the 5 or 9. So these are kind of popping on their own, but kind of not. So I just spritz a little alcohol on it to let it kind of... It is kind of remarkable though, because I know I'm a fast stirrer and I know I get bubbles. But to see them all drawn to the surface in one place like this is kind of astounding, actually. I mean, the cup itself is crystal clear. It's just this top side where the foam was, and that might just be having so much in the cup at once. You know, brand new user error. I watched a couple videos on this, but I hadn't watched a ton, so I may not entirely know what I'm doing yet. I'm just going to carefully and slowly pour this in. Because like I said, it is starting to get warm and towards the end of its working time, so I need to get going on it. Talk about perfect measured. This mold is extremely thick, so it's harder for me to see if I have any bubbles or anything. I do have one little trapped air bubble over here, maybe one here. I'm just going to use one of these little micro swabs and try and work that little bubble out. Got it. And there's that one. So I'm going to give it a quick spritz. I do feel like there's some bubbles floating around in here. But I can't remember what the exact pattern of this is. So until I see it pulled, I'm really not gonna know. So it's hard to say what the air in the mold got trapped on until I see it out and after it's been poured. I feel pretty good about these. That's got a minute left. I do need to mix up a small batch, which should be interesting because I'm not doing well pouring small batches today, but I only need about 80 for this. Okay, so this is ready to get pulled. And I'm only going to let this one run once. I meant to be a little slower on that, but I'm going to let it sit a second while I mix this batch. See, I let that sit and that came right off with no problem. I do have a little bit of the foam left on top, just like last time, but very minimal compared to last time. So I think for this pink one, I'm just going to let it run a 5-minute cycle just to see what that does. So again, I am just going to spritz the tops. Spritz my mold a little bit. Oh. So super right off the bat, initial thoughts. I can definitely see where this works. Maybe a little less aggressive mixing than I tend to do would be better. Because I'm not getting nearly as many surface bubbles as I normally would. I've got less edge bubbles than I normally would. And just a lot less bubbles overall. I do have a couple clinging to the edge here, but I don't really want to keep messing with this. And again, that is probably not the machine's fault, that is the mold. Some molds just hold air in certain places. But other than that, this piece looks pretty clear. And these two little patches. So overall, I would say I definitely need a little more experience with this machine and to use it a little bit more. I can see where pouring for one at a time would be difficult for some people. But for somebody that doesn't do a ton of molds like me, this really isn't that big a deal. Because you can have one doing this while you're mixing and prepping the next, and just back and forth. If you're doing something where you're mixing like 20 ounces of black and pouring a whole bunch of trays at once, or molds at once, you know, this might not be the machine for you. But for smaller scale resin work, this is definitely not bad at all. And those bubbles are almost completely gone in this one. I'm pretty impressed. Okay, so I'm just going to shut this down and release the pressure. And it's just going to be what it's going to be on this one, because I have to get on with my day. So, oh. So this one might be a little bit bubblier than the last one, and it is. So I'm going to let it sit here for a couple minutes and let those bubbles keep rising. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and unmold these. This one is probably less than perfect because remember, I got a little impatient. So, not so much got impatient, but was running out of time. This took longer than anticipated. So, I do have bubbling. But that's okay. That was on me. Oh, and I also didn't have the tip opened up all the way, so yeah. Oops. My mistake. I forgot to push it through. My fault. So, this one in the mold looks great. Wow. Yeah, this is almost like clear glass, but tinted. I have a couple little tiny bubbles on the surface, but compared to this one, night and day difference in the bubbling. So I am pretty pleased with that. And let's see this one. This was a mold I hadn't poured previously at all. Can't remember what the tip of this one looked like. Oh, it's bigger. Cute. I do have one little bubble. I poured too fast. That's not a curing machine or a bubble removing machine issue. That's a me pouring issue. And like I said, this mold is super, super thick. So it might be a little difficult to get out. So I'm going to squirt a little bit of alcohol down the sides. Oh, this is cute. Not as bad as I expected. So let me see if this is even the right lid. Yes, it is. This is adorable. And pretty clear. I need to smooth out my edge just a tiny bit. But yeah, this one is very cute. And I am pretty impressed. So, overall, I am really, really happy with how this worked. I mean, that is super clear. I mean, even through here, it is super clear. That's not a bubble, that's just in the bottom. So, yeah, definitely a game changer for me because, like I said, I get micro bubbles in everything, no matter how warm my epoxy is. So I am super pleased with this little machine. It's going to be a game changer for me. This one we're just going to ignore because, again, the top of the mold is supposed to look like that, not like that. So, oops. Yeah, overall, so far, big thumbs up on this. Just have patience, I guess. And remember, keep in mind your working time. I had no problems even with the full cup with this one in losing my working time. So, yeah, I recommend it overall. And I will continue to use this, and I will post updates or show it in future videos when I use it. But this is the scooch this. The Resiners Say Goodbye to Bubbles. Resiners Airless Bubble Removal Machine. Yeah. So far I am pleased. I love how compact it is. Again, not going to be good for big, massive pours. I don't think I would do more than I did for the green one. That was pushing it. So that was about 6 mLs. Or 6 ounces, or 180, 190 mLs is going to be about your max on this in 1 cup. But as we saw with the green one, I did put 2 cups in here. So in theory, as long as you didn't go over, I would be comfortable putting 2 cups in here. I don't think a third one of these will fit. Maybe. So I guess technically you could, but I'd be afraid of it bubbling up and hitting the sides with 3. Anyways, that is it for this one. Yes, I am very happy with this. Notable difference for me. So, and I love that it is I have a, like a grippy opener somewhere that I want to use for sitting underneath it. But, I mean, this is all the room it takes up, which you've seen my room. You know I'm tight on space, so absolutely perfect for me. I'll probably just keep the manual right in there with it as well. And actually, if you put the thing upside down, that's even better. I'm going to mention this. This is the only non-sealed piece of this entire thing. I did see a couple videos now where people have opened this up. This is a little tiny filter in there. So you may want to, if you're using it a lot, open it up and check that filter once in a while and like clean it off. It's just one of those little black spongy filters. Make sure it's dry. Don't put it back in wet if you do take it out to clean it. But just something I thought I would mention that I'd seen. I'm not going to take this apart. So that is it. The Resiners Bubble Remover Machine. And the links will be down below if you're interested. And again, I will continue to use it and share it. I'd really like to redo the strawberry soon, so maybe that'll be the next time we see this, and, you know, we'll take another run at that. I do want to look at this, though, because I can see a little bit of the metallic sheen from the alcohol ink, but not a ton, so I probably won't bother trying one of those again. I do want to try some with, like, micas and stuff, so. And I would like to try a coaster with chunky glitter, because we all know chunky glitter traps air, so. We'll definitely be trying this out again in the future, but for now, these two, I am more than satisfied for my first attempt. We're going to ignore this exists, right? But, yeah. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have one of these machines, let me know if you're using it regularly and how you're making out with it, because I'm always curious. And I will see you in the next one.